Commander Jack Miller stared at the main screen of Earth Defense Force headquarters. His coffee mug slipped from his fingers and crashed to the floor. No one noticed. Every eye in the room was fixed on the same thing, a vessel of unknown origin that had just appeared beyond Mars' orbit. "Get me confirmation," Jack said, his voice steady despite the pounding of his heart. "I want every telescope we have pointed at that object." "Already done, sir," said Lieutenant Nancy Reed from her station. "The object is approximately 300 meters in length. It's not matching any known design. And, sir, it's slowing down. For decades, humanity had looked to the stars and wondered if they were alone. They had sent signals, built better telescopes, and launched probes. Nothing. Until today. The object has stabilized its position," Nancy reported. "It's just sitting there, sir." Jack took a deep breath. "Alert the United Council. Tell them first contact protocol is in effect." Within an hour, leaders from every major nation had assembled via secure video link. Scientists, military officers, and politicians, all asking the same questions. Who were they? What did they want? Should Earth respond or stay silent? The debate ended when the alien vessel transmitted a message. Broken, distorted, but clearly in English. "Help ... please ... They follow." Jack watched as linguists and code breakers worked to clean up the transmission. More words came through. "Refugees ... Deckery, hunting us ... needs sanctuary." Secretary of Defense Alan Pierce leaned forward in his chair. "It could be a trap. Or it could be exactly what it sounds like," countered Dr. Emma Wright, the lead xenobiologist. "A cry for help." "We need more information before we decide anything," Jack said. "I suggest we send a response. Ask them to identify themselves." The United Council voted. The response was approved. Humanity would answer. 3 days later, a small shuttle separated from the alien vessel and slowly approached the International Space Station. Inside the station, Lisa Harmon, captain of the Earth Shuttle program, waited with a team of scientists, doctors, and security personnel. "Shuttle has docked," came the report. "Airlock secure. Atmosphere readings normal." Lisa stepped forward as the inner door opened. She wasn't sure what to expect, but it wasn't the frail, almost translucent being that floated through the doorway. It stood just over 5 feet tall, with 4 arms and skin that seemed to shimmer with a soft blue light. Its large eyes blinked rapidly in the station's bright light. "I am Zaldos," the being said, its voice soft and melodic. "I speak for the Solari. We thank you for allowing us this meeting." Lisa introduced herself and her team. "You said you needed help. We're here to listen." Over the next few hours, Zolos explained, the Solari were fleeing from the Dreckery Collective, an expansionist empire that had already conquered 12 star systems. The Solari had refused to surrender their homeworld, and now the survivors were hunted across the galaxy. "Our ship is damaged," Zolos said. "We have 300 souls aboard. Children, elders, scientists. The last free citizens of Solari." "Why, Earth?" Dr. Wright asked. "How did you even find us?" Zolos blinked. "We detected your radio signals. We did not expect to find life here. Your world is what our scientists would call a death world." "A death world?" Jack asked, joining the conversation through video link. "High gravity, oxygen atmosphere, extreme temperature variations, dangerous wildlife." Zolos looked at them with new interest. "Most intelligent species evolve on gentle worlds. You are ... unusual." Emma exchanged glances with her colleagues. "This is just normal to us." "Perhaps that is why your help would be so valuable," Zolos said. "The Dreckery believe no one would shelter us. They would not expect resistance from an unknown species, especially one from such a harsh world. Back on Earth, The United Council debated for days. Some nations wanted nothing to do with an alien war. Others saw opportunity in alien technology. Lisa discovered that the Solari had advanced energy systems that could revolutionize Earth's power. Grid. Clean energy that could solve climate issues that had plagued humanity for centuries. They're offering to share their technology, Lisa explained to the Council. Not weapons, but energy systems, medical knowledge, faster-than-light communications. And in return, we fight their war, Secretary Pierce said. No, Jack corrected. In return, we shelter refugees from genocide. There's a difference. The debate might have continued for weeks, but the decision was forced when long-range sensors detected another ship entering the solar system. Larger than the Solari vessel, heavily armed. Dreckery's scout ship, Zolos confirmed, fear evident in his voice. They have found us. The United Council called an emergency session. The Dreckery ship would reach Earth in 3 days. They had to decide, reveal humanity's existence by helping the Solari, or remain hidden and safe. Jack addressed the Council. For centuries, we've looked to the stars and asked if we're alone. We now have our answer. And our first act cannot be to turn away those in need. We cannot fight an interstellar empire, argued the representative from Japan. Not yet, Jack agreed. But the Solari have technology that could help us advance by decades. And more importantly, they need our help. If we turn them away, we're complicit in whatever happens to them. Lisa stepped forward. The Solari ship has a functioning faster-than-light drive. If we can understand it, repair their ship, we could build our own. In 3 days? Someone scoffed. No, but we can show the Dreckery that the Solari aren't alone anymore. The vote was close, but humanity made its choice. Earth would stand with the Solari. The next day, Jack stood on the bridge of the USS Liberty, the newest and most advanced warship in Earth's small fleet. Beside him, Zolos watched as Earth's ships moved into defensive positions. Your people are brave, Zolos said, but the Dreckery have conquered worlds far more advanced than yours. Jack smiled. Maybe, but they've never met anyone who evolved on a death world before. The Dreckery ship entered Earth orbit exactly when predicted. Its size dwarfed anything humanity had built. A transmission came through, translated by Solari technology. Attention harboring vessel. Return Solari criminals immediately or be destroyed. Jack took a deep breath and signaled to Communications Officer Peter Walsh. Open a channel. He stood straight, shoulders back. This would be humanity's first words to the wider galaxy. This is Commander Jack Miller of the Earth Defense Force. The Solari are under our protection. Any hostile action against them will be considered an act of war against humanity. There was a long pause before the reply came. Humanity? Another. Species enters the game? Know this, humans. The Dreckery Collective does not recognize your authority or your claim. You have one planetary rotation to surrender the Solari. The transmission ended. Jack looked at his crew, then at Zolos. Well, he said with a grim smile, I guess we have 1 day to figure out how to fight back. Across Earth, factories began. Working around the clock. Scientists pored over Solari technology. Military leaders developed strategies. A planet that had been divided for so long united against a common threat. They had asked for aid humanity would answer. And the Dreckery were about to learn what it meant to threaten a species that had evolved on a world designed to kill them. 6 months passed quickly. Earth had changed more in that time than in the previous 50 years. Admiral Susan Clark stood on the bridge of the EDF Defiance, humanity's first true interstellar warship. Around her, a crew of both humans and Solari worked at stations that blended Earth technology with alien engineering. The ship hummed with power from its fusion core. a gift from the Solari that had revolutionized Earth's energy production overnight. "Status report," Susan said, her voice calm despite the tension in the air. "All systems green," replied her first officer, Ben Howard. "The fleet is in formation and ready to jump on your command." Susan nodded. Behind the Defiance, 23. Other warships waited. Not as large or advanced as their flagship, but each carried weapons that would have been impossible 6 months ago. Humanity had learned quickly. "The Drekari have entered the system," said Lieutenant Amy Frost from the sensor station. 5 ships, heavy cruiser class. After the first Drekari scout had arrived, it had retreated when faced with Earth's united fleet, but everyone knew they would return with more ships. The Drekari Collective did not tolerate defiance. Susan opened a channel to the fleet. "This is Admiral Clark. Today, we show the galaxy that humanity stands by its word. We protect our friends. We defend the innocent. And we do not bow to bullies, no matter how far they've traveled to find us." The Drekari ships appeared on the main screen, sleek and predatory. Their hulls gleamed with a metallic blue sheen that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. "They're hailing us," Amy reported. The screen shifted to show a Drekari commander. Unlike the slender, almost ethereal Solari, the Drekari was solid and reptilian, with scales that shifted between green and black. Its eyes were yellow slits that showed no emotion. "This is Commander Vexkar of the Drekari Collective. You harbor fugitives from collective justice. Surrender them now, along with any technology they have shared with you. Comply, and your species may be permitted to join the collective as a client race." Susan didn't hesitate. "This is Admiral Susan Clark of the Earth Defense Force. The Solari are under our protection. They have been granted asylum by the United Council of Earth. We do not recognize your authority in this or any other star system." The Drekari commanders' scales darkened with anger. "Your primitive vessels cannot hope to stand against collective weaponry. You evolved on a backwater world with no understanding of galactic politics. Surrender now or be destroyed." Susan cut the transmission and turned to her crew. "Battle stations. All ships, prepare to engage." The Drekari struck first, energy weapons lancing out from their lead vessel toward the human fleet. On the Defiance, alarms blared as the shields absorbed the impact. "Shields holding at 87%, reported Engineer Keith Young. "The Solari modifications are working." "Return fire," Susan ordered. "All ships, execute formation delta." The human fleet broke apart, smaller ships moving with surprising speed around the larger Drekari vessels. What the human ships lacked in size, they made up for in maneuverability. On the EDF Valiant, Lieutenant Greg Foster led a team of Marines preparing for boarding action. The Valiant was specially designed for close combat, with magnetic grapples that could attach to enemy ships. "Remember your training," Greg told his squad. Drekari biology makes them vulnerable to sudden pressure changes and high-intensity light. Use your flash grenades first, then move in fast. The Valiant shuddered as it took a direct hit. Captain Maria Santos's voice came over the comms. "Foster, we've breached their lead ship's shields. Boarding team, prepare for deployment in 60 seconds." Greg checked his combat suit one last time. Like everything else, it was a hybrid of human and Solari technology. The strength-enhancing exoskeleton gave him and his team an advantage the Drekari couldn't anticipate. "Marines ready?" he confirmed. The Valiant swung around, evading another energy blast, and locked onto the Drekari cruiser's hull. Magnetic clamps engaged with a loud thunk that vibrated through the deck plates. "Boarding team, go." Greg led his squad through the airlock and onto the alien ship. The first Drekari guards they encountered fired energy weapons that scorched the corridor walls, but the human combat suits absorbed the impacts. "Flash grenades," Greg ordered. The corridor lit up with blinding light. The Dreckery soldiers collapsed, their sensitive eyes overwhelmed Dot as the Marines pushed deeper into the ship. The Dreckery resistance grew fiercer. Greg took a hit to his left arm, the energy weapon burning through his suit and into his flesh. Pain seared through him, but he kept moving. On a death world like Earth, humans had evolved to withstand pain that would incapacitate other species. Back on the Defiance, Susan watched as the battle unfolded. 3 Dreckery ships were now heavily damaged, their weapons systems disabled by precise strikes from the human fleet. The Dreckery are breaking formation, Amy reported. They appear to be retreating. Recall all boarding parties, Susan ordered. Let them go. We've made our point. On the Dreckery command ship, Greg and his team had fought their way to the bridge. The Dreckery commander, Vex Carr, watched in horror as the humans continued fighting despite injuries that should have stopped them. What are you? Vex Carr demanded as Greg approached. Just humans, Greg replied, blood streaming from a wound on his face. From Earth, remember that name. When the recall order came, Greg's team retreated, leaving the Dreckery commander alive but with a clear message. Humanity was not to be underestimated. After the battle, in the Defiance's medical bay, Dr. Olivia Martinez treated the wounded Marines. Greg winced as she sealed his arm wound. You're lucky, she told him. 2 inches to the right, and you would have lost the arm. Greg shrugged. We're all lucky. The Dreckery didn't expect us to be so hard to kill. In her lab aboard the Defiance, Olivia had been studying Dreckery technology recovered from damaged ships. Her team had already begun developing new weapons specifically, designed to exploit weaknesses in Dreckery shields. Their shield harmonics operate on predictable frequencies, she explained to Admiral Clark during the post-battle briefing. We can recalibrate our weapons to punch through more effectively next time. Next time, Susan repeated. There will definitely be a next time, won't there? Zolos, now the official Solari ambassador to Earth, nodded gravely. The Dreckery do not forgive Defiance. They will return with a larger force. But you have given us something we have not had in a long time. Hope. News of the victory spread quickly across Earth. In factories and laboratories around the world, production of ships and weapons accelerated. Schools began teaching students about galactic politics and alien biology. Humanity was preparing for Wargot in orbit around Jupiter. A new shipyard took shape. Earth's first spaceborne construction facility, built using Solari designs but enhanced. By human innovation, and beyond the solar system, word spread of the strange Deathworlders who had stood against the Dreckery. Other species, long oppressed by the collective, began to wonder, could these humans help them too? The first message came 3 weeks after the battle. A transmission from the Narration, an aquatic species whose homeworld had been stripped of resources by Dreckery mining operations. We have heard of your victory, the message said. We too seek freedom from Dreckery rule. Will you aid us as you aided the Solari? Susan brought the message to the United Council. Earth had taken its first step into a larger galaxy, and now had to decide, would they extend their protection to others? Would they build a coalition against the Dreckery? The vote was unanimous. Humanity would not stand by while others suffered. Earth would answer the call. They had asked for aid, and the Deathworlders would answer with an entire fleet. The small moon had no name until humans arrived. Now they called it Outpost Alpha. Its barren surface was dotted with pressurized domes and landing pads. Ships from a dozen different worlds moved in orbit above. This far from Earth, humanity had planted its first flag in the wider galaxy. Admiral Susan Clark stood in the central command dome, looking at the holographic display of nearby star systems. Representatives from various alien species crowded around the table. Each one had a story of Dreckery oppression. Each one had asked for Earth's help. The Dreckery fleet movements suggest they're gathering for a major offensive, said Vela, a tall being with blue-green skin and webbed hands. The Narration were an aquatic species, and Vela needed a special moisture suit to survive in the dry air of the command center. They know that more worlds are joining your coalition. Not my coalition, Susan corrected. This is an alliance of equals. Jack Miller, recently promoted to the rank of commander, watched from the edge of the room. The past 3 months had seen him rise quickly through the ranks. Now he would be given command of his own ship, the newly built ED-F Valiant. Commander Miller, Susan called, waving him over. You've studied the Galatian sector more than anyone. What's your assessment? Jack stepped forward. The hologram shifted to show a cluster of stars near the border of Dreckery space. The Galatians have maintained their independence longer than most, but recent Dreckery movements suggest they're the next target, Jack explained. Their world is rich in rare minerals that the collective needs for their fleet expansion. We've received a distress call, Susan told the group. The Galatian Republic is evacuating their outer colonies. They've asked for our help to protect their refugee ships. Another rescue mission? Asked a representative from the mining world of Torvin. We should be striking at the Dreckery directly, not always reacting to their moves. Vela shook her head, the motion fluid and graceful even. In her cumbersome suit, the Dreckery fleet still outnumbers us 5-1. Direct confrontation would be unwise. Besides, Jack added, every refugee we save, every world that joins us, makes us stronger. The Galatians have advanced shield technology we could use. Susan nodded. Commander Miller, the Valiant is yours. Your mission is to escort the Galatian refugee ships safely to Outpost Alpha. 2 days later, Jack stood on the bridge of his new command. The ED-F Valiant was smaller than the Defiance, but faster, designed for escort missions rather than frontline combat. Its crew was a mix of humans and aliens, a testament to the growing cooperation between species. All systems ready, Commander, said his first officer, Lieutenant Karen West. The Galatian coordinates are locked in. We can jump when ready. Engage jump drive, Jack ordered. The stars outside blurred as the Valiant entered faster-than-light travel. The Solari jump drive technology had been modified by human engineers, making it more efficient and reliable. The journey to the Galatian sector would take just under 12 hours. Jack used the time to study everything they knew about the Galatians. They were a peaceful species, focused on art and philosophy rather than warfare. Their world was known for its floating cities and complex social structures. Now they faced extinction at the hands of the Dreckery. Commander, we're approaching the Galatian system, Karen reported as the ship prepared to exit jump space. Bring us out cautiously, Jack ordered. Shields at maximum. Scan for Dreckery vessels. The Valiant emerged into normal space near a gas giant with multiple moons. Immediately, the ship's sensors detected energy signatures from several large vessels. 5 Galatian transport ships detected, said the sensor officer, Henry Daniels. And, Commander, I'm picking up 7 Dreckery warships moving to intercept them. Jack frowned. We're outnumbered. Open a channel to the Galatian ships. A face appeared on the screen. The Galatian had silvery skin that seemed to shimmer with faint light and large, expressive eyes. This is Elder Tellus of the Galatian Republic. You must be the humans we were told would come. Please hurry. We have thousands of civilians aboard our transports. This is Commander Jack Miller of the Earth Defense Force. We see the Dreckery ships. Begin moving your transports toward our position. We'll cover your escape. Jack turned to his tactical officer. Target the lead Dreckery ship. Fire warning shots across their bow. Let's get their attention. The Valiant's weapons came to life. Energy beams slicing through space toward the approaching Dreckery fleet. The lead ship swerved, avoiding direct damage. "They're responding," Henry said. "3 Dreckery cruisers are breaking off to engage us. The others are still pursuing the transports." "Just as I hoped," Jack said. "They're splitting their forces. Karan, take us closer to that dying star." Full speed. The Valiant accelerated toward a red giant star that dominated the system. Its outer layers were already beginning to expand as it entered the final stages of its life. "Sir, that star's gravity well is highly unstable," Karan warned. "Exactly," Jack said with a grim smile. "And we know how to use gravity to our advantage better than they do. Earth gravity is higher than most worlds. We've been fighting it our whole lives." The Dreckery ships followed, firing continuously at the Valiant. The human ship's shields flickered under the assault, but held. "When I give the word," Jack told his helmsman, "execute a slingshot maneuver around the star. Use the gravity well to accelerate us back toward the transports." The helmsman nodded, hands flying over the controls. The Valiant dove closer to the dying star, its hull creaking under the strain of the immense gravitational forces. "Now," Jack ordered. The Valiant banked sharply, using the star's gravity to whip around in a tight arc. The maneuver accelerated the ship to speeds that strained its structural integrity. Behind them, the Dreckery ships attempted to follow, but they weren't designed for such extreme gravitational stresses. One ship spiraled too close to the star, its shields failing as solar flares lashed its hull. A second ship pulled away too, late, its engines overloading from the strain. The Valiant shot out of the gravity, well like a bullet from a gun, racing back toward the Galatian transports. The remaining Dreckery ship struggled to turn around, having lost valuable time. "Target the Dreckery ships still pursuing the transports," Jack ordered. "Hit their engines." The Valiant opened fire, precision strikes disabling 2 more Dreckery vessels. The others turned to face this unexpected threat, giving the Galatian ships time to move away from the battle. "Commander, the Galatian ships are clear," Henry reported. "They're preparing to jump." "Good. Set a course to escort them." "We'll jump as soon as they're ready." Back on Earth, the United Council was in session. The latest reports from Outpost Alpha had sparked heated debate about the extent of human involvement in the growing galactic conflict. "We've already committed significant resources," argued the representative from Brazil. "Perhaps we should focus on defending our own system, rather than stretching ourselves thin across the galaxy." Secretary of Defense Alan Pierce stood. "When we first encountered the Solari, we made a choice. We chose to help those in need. We chose to stand against bullies. If we back down now, we're no better than the Dreckery." The debate was interrupted when an aide rushed in with an urgent message. The room fell silent as the council president read it aloud. "The Dreckery Collective has issued an ultimatum. They demand that Earth surrender all Solari refugees and cease all military operations beyond our solar system. If we refuse, they will launch a direct assault on Earth within 14 days. Alan Pierce walked to the center of the chamber. When he spoke, his voice was calm but determined. "Send this response to the Dreckery. We don't respond well to threats." As word of the ultimatum spread, factories across Earth increased production. New warships took shape in orbital dockyards. Marines trained day and night, honing their natural Deathworld advantages. The galaxy was about to discover why it was a terrible mistake to threaten humanity's home. The war room deep beneath Geneva hummed with activity. Maps of star systems floated in holographic displays. Officers from a dozen nations moved between stations, coordinating Earth's defense. In the center of it all stood Admiral Susan Clark, her face tired but determined. "The Dreckery are gathering their forces here," she said, pointing to a cluster of stars near the edge of their territory. Intelligence suggests they're preparing for their attack on Earth. Secretary of Defense. Alan Pierce studied the display. How long do we have? 4 days at most, Susan replied. But I'm not planning to wait for them to come to us. She waved her hand, and the hologram shifted to show a different star system deep within Dreckery space. This is the Dreckery home fleet. While they prepare to attack Earth, they're central. Command is less protected than usual. Vela, the Nereidon strategist, stepped forward. The Dreckery Emperor Krozak commands from this station. She pointed to a massive orbital structure. If we could disable their command capabilities, even TEMPORARI, we hit them at their heart while they're looking at our doorstep, Alan finished. The plan was bold. Some called it foolish. But desperate times called for desperate measures. Operation Broken Crown would be humanity's largest military action yet. Captain Lisa Harmon sat in the pilot's seat of the EDF Phantom, the newest ship, in Earth's growing fleet. Unlike the warships, the Phantom was small, fast, and nearly invisible to sensors. Its hull was coated with materials that absorbed scan waves rather than reflecting them. Final systems check complete, said her co-pilot. Max Rivera. Stealth systems at optimal levels, Lisa nodded. Beside her, Colonel Greg Foster checked his gear one last time. He and his team of Special Forces operatives had trained for months for this mission. They would infiltrate the Dreckery command station while the main fleet engaged the Dreckery defense forces. We'll have 15 minutes once we dock, Greg reminded. His team. Plant the quantum disruptors at these 3 points, then get back to the ship. The disruptors were Earth's newest weapon, designed by Olivia Martinez based on combined human and alien technology. Once activated, they would create a field that disrupted faster-than-light communications and navigation systems, throwing the Dreckery fleet into disarray. Phantom, you are cleared for departure, came Admiral Clark's voice over the comm. Good. Hunting. Lisa guided the ship out of the Defiance's docking bay and into open space. As soon as they were clear, she engaged the jump drive. The stars blurred as the Phantom leaped into faster-than-light travel, headed directly for the heart of Dreckery space. Behind them, Earth's fleet prepared to follow. Over 100 ships, from massive carriers to small, fast attack vessels. Some were crewed by humans, others by their alien allies, all united against the Dreckery threat. Jack Miller, now captain of the upgraded EDF Valiant, addressed his crew. We all know what's at stake. The Dreckery thought they could bully us because we're newcomers to the galactic stage. Today, we show them and everyone else that humanity stands by its friends. In her lab aboard the Defiance, Olivia made final adjustments to the fleet's weapon systems. The Dreckery shields were strong, but she had found weaknesses in their design. Small imperfections in the shield harmonics that human weapons could exploit. The targeting upgrades are complete, Admiral, she reported. Our weapons should be 20% more effective against their shields. Susan smiled. Good work, Doctor. Every advantage helps. The Phantom arrived at the edge of the Dreckery home system, its stealth systems hiding it from the defensive. Perimeter. Lisa piloted the ship carefully between sensor arrays and patrol vessels. There it is, Max whispered, though there was no one to hear them in space. The Dreckery command station loomed ahead, a massive structure of metal and crystal that gleamed in the light of the system's blue sun. Lisa found a blind spot in the station's sensor coverage and brought the Phantom in close. The ship attached to the station's hull with barely a sound, magnetic clamps engaging to create an airtight seal. We're in position, she told Greg. Clock. Starts now. Greg and his team moved through the airlock and onto the station. Their combat suits, designed for stealth rather than direct combat, helped them blend into the shadows of the Dreckery corridors. First junction ahead, reported Sam Russell, the team's tech specialist. Security patrol passing in 3-2. Double quotes. The team pressed against the wall as a group of Dreckery guards marched past. Once they were gone, the humans continued deeper into the station. Meanwhile, Earth's main fleet jumped into the system. The Dreckery defenders responded immediately, ships moving to intercept the unexpected attackers. All ships, engage as planned, Susan ordered. Draw them away from the command station. The space around the Dreckery homeworld erupted in battle. Energy weapons crisscrossed the void. Fighters darted between larger vessels. The Dreckery had numbers on their side, but the human fleet fought with unexpected tactics and tenacity. On the command station, Greg's team reached their first target point. Setting Disruptor 1, Sam said, placing the device against a power conduit. The small device attached itself and began to pulse with a soft blue light. Armed and ready. 2 more to go, Greg said. Let's move. They encountered resistance at the second location. A squad of Dreckery security forces spotted them as they rounded a corner. Energy weapons fired, scorching the walls. Flash grenades, Greg ordered. The corridor lit up with blinding light. The Dreckery, with their sensitive eyes, reeled in pain. Greg took a hit to his shoulder, but kept moving. Sam placed the second disruptor, while the rest of the team provided cover. Last one, Greg said through gritted teeth. The central power hub. The central hub was heavily guarded. Dreckery soldiers stood at every entrance. Time was running out. We need a distraction, Greg said. Lisa's voice came through their comms. I can help with that. Moving the Phantom to the station's main hangar. That should draw some attention. Minutes later, alarms blared throughout the station. The guards at the power hub rushed away, responding to the new threat. Now's our chance, Greg told his team. They sprinted for the power hub, placed the final disruptor, and started their retreat to the extraction point. In space, the battle continued. The Defiance took heavy fire, but gave as good as it got, its weapons punching through Dreckery shields thanks to Olivia's modifications. Jack's Valiant led a squadron of smaller ships on attack runs against the Dreckery carriers, preventing them from launching more fighters. Status of Operation Sunburst? Susan asked her communications officer. Colonel Foster reports all disruptors in place. They're heading back to the Phantom now. Susan nodded. Send the activation signal on my mark. Greg and his team reached the Phantom just as Lisa finished dealing with the hangar security. They piled into the ship as emergency doors began to close. Everyone aboard? Lisa asked. All present, Greg confirmed. Some injuries, but we're all breathing. That's good enough for me. Lisa fired the Phantom's engines, blasting out of the hangar just before the doors sealed. On the Defiance, Susan gave the order. Activate the disruptors. Across the Dreckery command station, the 3 devices activated simultaneously. A wave of energy rippled outward, disrupting all communications and navigation systems in its path. The Dreckery fleet, suddenly cut off from Central Command, fell into confusion. Ship captains could no longer coordinate their movements. Targeting. Systems failed. Jump drives went offline. Susan's voice transmitted across all frequencies. This is Admiral Susan Clark of the Earth Defense Force. Your command systems are disabled. Your fleet is in disarray. This is the power of humanity, the Deathworlders you thought too primitive to fear. On the bridge of his flagship, Dreckery Emperor Krozak watched in disbelief as his carefully organized fleet broke apart under the human attack. Reports of boarding actions came in from dozens of ships. Human Marines, fighting with impossible strength and endurance, overwhelmed Dreckery crews. What are these creatures? He demanded of his advisors. None had an answer. The battle for the Dreckery homeworld had begun, and for the first time in centuries, the collective faced an enemy they did not know how to defeat. 1 year after Operation Broken Crown, Earth looked different. New buildings rose in major cities, their designs influenced by alien architecture. Ships from dozens of worlds moved in and out of orbit freely. Earth had changed from an isolated world to the center of a new galactic alliance. Admiral Jack Miller stood at the window of the United Council chamber. Below, in the gardens of the Geneva complex, representatives from 50 formerly oppressed species gathered for the signing of the Galactic Concordat. The document would formalize the alliance that had formed in the wake of the Dreckery empires. Collapse. Quite a view, isn't it? Admiral Susan Clark joined him at the window. Her uniform bore new medals, honors earned during the 3-day battle that had ended the Dreckery threat. "Hard to believe it's only been a year," Jack replied. "Sometimes I still expect to wake up and find it was all a dream." "No dream," Susan said. "Though I doubt anyone would have believed this outcome when that first Solari ship appeared in our system." The door opened and Secretary Alan Pierce entered with Zolos, the Solari ambassador. The once frail alien now moved with confidence, his blue skin glowing with health. "It's time," Alan said. "The ceremony is about to begin." They walked together to the Grand Hall, where Earth's leaders stood alongside representatives from across the galaxy. At the center was a simple table with the Concordat document. Each species would sign, officially joining the new alliance. President Helen Young of the United Council spoke first. 2 years ago, we were alone in the universe, unaware of the wider galaxy around us. When the Solari came seeking help, we faced a choice: turn away or stand with them against oppression. Today, we see the results of that choice. She gestured to the gathered representatives. Not just the freedom of 50 species from Dreckery rule, but the beginning of a new era of cooperation and mutual respect. The Galactic Concordat establishes not just peace, but a framework for lasting prosperity. Zolos stepped forward. "On behalf of the Solari people, I extend our eternal gratitude to humanity. When we came to your world, we were refugees with little to offer but our knowledge. You sheltered us, protected us, and then extended that protection to others. You asked for nothing in return." One by one, the representatives came forward to sign the document. Some walked on legs, others floated, or slithered. Each had suffered under Dreckery rule. Each now looked to the future with hope. In a laboratory on the other side of Geneva, Dr. Olivia Martinez worked with scientists from a dozen worlds. Holographic displays showed the progress of their first joint project, terraforming technology to heal planets damaged by Dreckery mining. Operations. "The bioengineered microbes are performing better than expected," said Kella, a scientist from the plant-like Veteri species. "The test area on Torvin 4 shows 60% recovery of native soil quality." Olivia nodded, pleased. "The combination of your photosynthetic expertise with Nereid water purification methods was the key. We should be ready for full-scale deployment within 3 months." The lab door opened and Lisa Harmon entered. Now a Commodore in charge of Earth's exploration fleet, she still preferred her pilot's uniform to formal dress. "Don't tell me you're missing the ceremony to work," Lisa said with a smile. Olivia shrugged. "Someone has to make sure all these promises of healing damaged worlds actually happen. Besides, I'm not good with crowds." "Well, you'll have to deal with one crowd tonight. There's a celebration at headquarters, and I'm not taking no for an answer." Lisa looked at the displays. "This is impressive work, by the way. From weapons to healing in less than a year." "That's the point, isn't it?" Olivia replied. "We didn't fight just to win a war. We fought to create something better after." Across the city, Colonel Greg Foster stood at a memorial erected to honor those who had fallen during the conflict. Names from a dozen worlds were etched into the curved wall of pale stone. He traced his fingers over the name of Sam Russell, who had died placing the final disruptor during Operation Broken Crown. "I thought I might find you here," said a voice behind him. Vela of the Narration approached, her moisture suit gleaming. "In the afternoon sun. Just paying my respects before the celebrations begin," Greg said. Vela nodded, her large eyes solemn. "We have a similar custom on Narration. We believe that to move forward properly, we must first honor those who made the path possible." They stood in silence for a moment before Vela spoke again. "The Galatians have a saying that I think captures what happened when we all found Earth. They asked for aid, expecting perhaps a few brave souls. You answered with an entire fleet." Greg smiled slightly. "It wasn't just the fleet. It was who we are, what Earth made us." "Deathworlders," Vela said, using the term that had once been whispered with fear, but was now spoken with respect across the galaxy. Who would have thought that evolving on such a harsh world would create a species so determined to protect others? In orbit above Earth, construction continued on humanity's first true colony ship. The massive vessel would soon carry volunteers to a new world, the beginning of humanity's expansion beyond their solar system. Smaller ships moved between Earth and the Moon, where a permanent base now served as a trading post for alien merchants. Back at the United Council chamber, the signing ceremony concluded. The Galactic Concordat was now official. The Alliance had a structure, laws, and a shared purpose to ensure no species would ever again face the threat of extinction or enslavement. Susan Clark, now Earth's official representative to the Concordat, stood to deliver the closing remarks. Today marks not just the end of one chapter, but the beginning of another. For too long, the Dreckery ruled through fear and division. Our strength comes from unity and mutual respect. Each of our species brings unique perspectives and abilities. Together, we are stronger than any empire." She looked out at the assembled representatives. "We evolved on a world that should have killed us. Instead, it made us strong enough to ensure no species need ever face extinction again. That is our promise to the galaxy." As night fell, celebrations began across Earth. In homes and public squares, humans gathered to watch broadcasts from the ceremony. Children played with toys of alien species who are now allies and friends. In schools, new lessons taught not just Earth history, but galactic history. Jack Miller stood on the balcony of EDF headquarters, looking up at the stars. Once they had seemed so distant, so unreachable. Now they represented humanity's future. "Penny for your thoughts, Admiral?" President Young joined him. "Just thinking about how quickly everything changed," Jack replied. 2 years ago, I was watching that first alien ship appear on our sensors. Now we're the center of a galactic alliance. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if we'd turned the Solari away?" she asked. Jack shook his head. "That was never really an option. Not for us. When someone asks for help, you help. That's what makes us human." Below them, the celebration continued. Humans and aliens mingled, sharing stories and dreams for the future. Ships from a dozen worlds lit up Earth's night sky, their running lights tracing paths between the stars. They had asked for aid, and the Deathworlders had answered, with an entire fleet. Now the galaxy would never be the same.